Game day is finally here. New Jets cornerback DJ Reed greeting the green and white faithful, as is CJ Mosley, the former Baltimore Raven, will take aim at the Ravens today at MetLife Stadium. It is week one, kickoff weekend. Mike White, CJ Uzama, and the fellas entering the building. Welcome into Pregame Central, presented by Bud Light. There are the Jets fans. Let's hear it. You're looking live at MetLife Stadium. Eric Allen out here inside the tailgate zone with our veteran Anthony Becht and our rookie on the broadcast team, Quincy Enunwa.
Give it up. Q.
Q, the smell of football is in there.
It is. It's a beautiful thing, man. I remember those days when I was coming out here. The first game is always, you got to get those jitters out. But, man, once it gets going, man, it's an amazing feeling.
Anthony Becht, you were part of the preseason broadcast team over there on CBS with Iron Eagle, doing a great job. What do we know about the New York Jets entering week one?
Completely revamped roster, right? I mean, we got brand new defensive players. We got young, really talented rookies. I mean, they're all going to play in this football game. I'm excited. I'm excited to see how these guys respond in the regular season, how they come out week one. I think the expectation level should be high for fans. I know we're building something here, and probably if you were to say, okay, year three would be the goal, but right now we got to see a jump. We want to see some of these explosive players go out there and really do a great job. And the defense, too, has added a lot of pieces, a lot of exciting names. Jordan Whitehead, DJ Reed. These guys are real deal players, and they're only going to help this team be good, and they're going to need them today in this game against the Ravens.
Joe Klecco is going to be joining us momentarily, and we're going to check in with both Ethan Greenberg and Caroline Hendershot inside the stadium. Q, what are we about to find out about these Jets?
Yeah, well, you know, coming off that undefeated preseason, you really want to see if they can carry that momentum into the season, right? Like, there were some great games. They finished strong. You want to hope that they can continue to do that. After that, though, they've got some great receivers, man. And as a receiver myself, I'm excited to see what those guys put on the field. And then we got some great tight ends as well. So I know, AB, you're excited to see those guys.
Oh, yeah. Let's go.
I know you're excited about those tight ends. We just saw Uzama before.
Maybe the best group we've had here since, I mean, you know, you go back, it's a decade now. I mean, you're talking about from top to bottom, a unit that can block, that can pass protect, that can catch the ball, can be red zone targets. Let's go. And Joe Flacco loves guys like that. I mean, trust me, to have a quarterback, to have a guy they can dump it down to is huge.
You are watching Pregame Central, presented by Bud Light. Eric Allen, Anthony Becht, and Quincy Enunwa out here in the tailgate zone. Jets fans getting ready for the home opener. Let's get out of the tunnel, fellas. Anthony, Joe Flacco, we just saw him before, 37 years old, has victories over 30 teams in the National Football League. The only two, the team he formerly played with, the Baltimore Ravens and the Seattle Seahawks. He'll have a shot against the team that drafted him in 2008 in the first round, the team that he led to a Super Bowl title in 2012 when he was the Super Bowl MVP as the Ravens took down the San Francisco 49ers in a wild 34-31 game.
Well, you know, you'd think emotions would be high internally. You'll never see it from him because he's so smooth and calm. But, you know, playing against his former team, finally getting a chance, he's always preached about, listen, I want to play. I want to be a one. I want to be a guy that can start and still go out there. He believes in himself. He's in great shape. I've seen him as he's playing in the preseason. He's really done a phenomenal job. And I think all the receivers and the players around him really believe in his skill set. And I'm excited to see him, too. You're talking about now linemen that can protect him. He's got weapons to get the ball out. They got really good backs. And those are quarterbacks, really, options that he had. They weren't there last year for him when he got his opportunity. So he knows he's got three for sure, right? He knows he's going to come out of the gate. It's his team. Let's see what he can do.
Hugh, what does Flacco's presence mean for a young wide receiver group? The Jets are going to be counting on early here from contributions from Garrett Wilson, selected number 10 overall. Elijah Moore exploded last year. In only 11 games, he had 5 touchdowns. We saw him really develop down the stretch. You got the two veterans in there. Braxton Berrios and Corey Davis, of course. But I'm thinking of the young guys here, and Moore and Wilson.
Yeah, I'm thinking back to my time when I first started playing, having Ryan Fitzpatrick, and it was huge for me. It was a great bonus. I think anytime you can have a veteran presence in there that really knows what they're doing, knows how to read the defense, and knows the offense well, it really helps you to just kind of play loose. You don't have to think too much, right, because you don't have another guy that's also learning the offense, learning defense as well. So I think that's going to be great for those guys. I think, you know, you're going to see Garrett Wilson get many opportunities. You saw Elijah Moore at the end of last year really have a huge game against Miami, right?
Yep.
Now it's with Joe Flacco. So, you know, we're hoping that we can continue that success here.
Anthony, let's flip it to the other side of the ball. The guy who replaced Joe Flacco in Baltimore, of course, Lamar Jackson.
Ooh.
A lot of talk about his contract status entering the 2022 season. He's going to play without a new contract. Will that enter into his thinking coming into this ball game? He's basically betting on himself, much like Flacco.
Listen, I like guys that bet on themselves, but let's be honest. There's a real pressure to go out there, especially at the quarterback position, and get it done, especially early on. All eyes are on him. Everybody in the media is talking about it. I mean, heck, it was the whole story leading up to Friday when they cut negotiations off. The number got thrown out into the media today, so everybody's talking about, oh, how can you not take the money and all. Listen,
Right.
You hear that noise. So now it's like, okay, he's got to go out. Here's the first game. You got to prove it. It could go a lot of different ways. I know one thing, you know, he can move around and he can get the ball to his receivers and he can do a lot of special things with his arms and his legs. If he's anything like he's been in the past, he is a problem. The number one thing with this defensive line, and again, I love this defensive line for the Jets, is you don't just come at this guy and try to sack him.
Yeah.
You squeeze him down, right? You make him throw from the pocket a ton of times with people in his face. If you can do that, you can have success around him. But I think there is going to be some hidden pressures for him in this game.
Lamar Jackson wears number 8. The Jets are going to need 11 guys to the ball today, including that person right there, their Mike linebacker, C.J. Mosley, of course. And I'll tell you what, this fan base can provide a 12th man presence out there, forcing Lamar Jackson and company go to silent counts here this afternoon. But fans, here is your chance to be part of Pregame Central, presented by Bud Light. Vote now. New York Jets quarterback Joe Flacco will throw for 2 touchdowns or more versus the Baltimore Ravens. Okay, let's bring in. Fans are getting hyped out here. We got the launch crew throwing out some shirts. I saw Anthony Becht out there in the crowd before getting himself a shirt, but let's bring in Ethan Greenberg and Caroline Hendershot, who are inside the stadium right now. Guys, listen, we've been talking about the offensive line, lack of continuity for the Jets throughout the offseason. Unfortunately, that's a storyline heading into this game as well.
Yeah, you're right, EA. Dwayne Brown, unfortunately, left tackle, went on IR as of Friday. That means he's out for at least 4 games. Ethan, what does that mean for the rest of the Jets' offensive line?
Well, in the short term, it means that George Fant, who's at right tackle once Dwayne Brown signed, will be back at left tackle. Rookie Max Mitchell, the 4th-round pick out of Louisiana, he will get his first game action at right tackle for the New York Jets in his first regular season game. And this is somebody that Robert Saleh said is further along than they would imagine when they first drafted him. And with Max Mitchell, he's predominantly played right tackle at Louisiana. 13 starts at that position in 2021. He led the Jets in preseason snaps out of any player on offense with 124, including 2 starts at Carolina.
But, you know, it's not just the Jets' offensive line that is having some of those players have to swing. What about the Ravens' offensive line?
Well, let's go at left tackle. Ronnie Stanley, the all-pro left tackle, he will not play against the New York Jets, which means that Juwan James will take that spot. Now, with Juwan James, 65 career starts, but he has not played in a game since 2019. He only played in 3 of them with the Denver Broncos. He opted out of the 2020 season. In the pandemic season, 2021 comes around, he tears his Achilles, and he'll be facing another guy who's coming off an Achilles injury. That's Carl Lawson. We'll see a lot of Carl Lawson. I'm excited to see that matchup in particular because what EA and those guys were talking about, if the Jets can create pressure, they can maybe make Lamar Jackson a little uncomfortable.
Those two going head-to-head will be definitely something to watch. And last but not least, some Ravens key players that we have not seen play in over a year. Who are they and what's their status?
Yeah, let's start with J.K. Dobbins, the running back. He hurt his knee before last season even started in the summer. It was reported a couple minutes ago, probably like 30 to an hour ago, that he will not play against the New York Jets. Again, the inactives come out at 11:30, so he's officially listed as questionable. Now, who's up behind J.K. Dobbins? You got Kenyon Drake, who signed recently with the Ravens, versatile back out of the backfield, and then the other guy, Mike Davis. Big guy. He's like 5'9", 200 pounds. The Jets actually played against Mike Davis in London when Davis was with the Falcons last year. He had 53 yards and a touchdown, averaged just over 4.0 yards per carry. So those are the two guys there. And then Marcus Peters, the all-pro cornerback. Now, no one's really talking about him. I'm interested to see if he plays or not. But Marcus Peters, just before we went live, was running stadiums. And most of the guys behind us have cleats on. Marcus Peters did not have cleats. That could mean nothing. It could be something, and we'll find out at 11:30.
Right, that was a great point by Ethan. He noticed that one. And J.K. Dobbins, unfortunately, the Ravens coaching staff said it's more important to play more games, not just one, so he's sitting out. But EA, that's all we got. Back to you guys outside.
Ethan, was he running stadium steps?
Yes.
A lot like Robert Saleh.
Yeah, so I didn't see the full workout. I saw him basically like right in front of my line of vision to the left, and he was catching a ball in the front row, like before fans started coming down and before the gates opened. He was in the front row playing catch with another teammate, and then he ran a couple sections of the stadium, hopped over the gate right in front of the set, walked away. I noticed the shoes because they looked like not cleats, and they were not. They were some form of sneaker. Now, it could mean nothing, like I said, but that's just something that I noticed, and I guess we'll find out in a couple minutes.
You know, Jets head coach Robert Saleh was definitely getting his steps in as well. The Jets return to MetLife Stadium on Sunday, September 25th at 1 p.m. to host Joe Burrow and the Bengals. That game will be presented by Pepsi Zero Sugar. Get your tickets today at NewYorkJets.com/tickets. Remember, the Jets took down Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals last year right here at MetLife Stadium by a 34-31 count. Eric Allen, Anthony Becht, Quincy Enunwa here inside the tailgate zone on Pregame Central presented by Bud Light. But now let's bring in Pro Football senior finalist, Pro Football Hall of Fame senior finalist, Joe Klecco. Joe, great to see you. What has the past month been like for you?
Well, it hasn't been quiet. I'll tell you, put it that way. With the interviews and people calling and stuff, especially the first 3 days. I tell a story real quick about. I actually had to have an MRI done the day after they announced it. I went in to have the MRI done at 1 o'clock. They announced it then. I came out. I had 70 texts on my phone. I didn't think I knew 70 people, So everybody has really been, gracious about the whole thing, and it has been overwhelming. Friends, family, acquaintances, everybody I've been talking to.
You have one last hurdle to cross. It's going to happen in January. You need 80% of the vote. A lot of people think that is a mere formality, but for you, you're probably not taking that approach considering everything you've been through since you retired, first being a modern-day candidate for the Pro Football Hall of Fame and then 25-plus years as a senior candidate.
Yeah, it was, it was one of them things, Drew, yeah. It was the wait and see became almost a normal thing. And, getting high about it when it came down to being one of the last, which has been the last 3 years, which because the Jets have been so much a part of that as far as, creating the buzz around me with the voters. The last 3 years, it was like, this is it, and it didn't happen. I related to, I'm in the construction business, and I've had many times where they've called me in the office to sign a contract, and then I get there, and it's going another way, Joe. So, like I said, until the check's in the bank, until that 80% is concurred that it's in at the Super Bowl, I'm going to wait to hold my reserve about that.
Oh, that check's going to come, and we're going to drive you to the bank. Hey, the Jets have a very young roster, Joe. You were a sixth-round pick way back in 1977. What kind of words of advice would you give to the young players? We're looking at Joe Flacco warm up right now. He's 37 years old, been there, done that. But as far as those guys in the locker room right now who haven't played an NFL game, what kind of advice would you give them?
Well, I think I was talking to Coach Saleh out at camp the other day, And the one thing he talked about was he had some great advice from Rex Ryan when Rex Ryan had said to him, get some guys in here that know you. And, you know, to have everybody fight for the same goal, that's a lot like we were when I played in the very beginning. We were all young. We didn't know what it was. You know, we're almost like unconsciously going hard all the time. And that's what we did. We played hard, and that's what made us what we were at that point. You know, and the thing about it is it took us to the next level every time. And that's what I see with these guys. They're young. They're going to follow Salah's way, and he's tremendous at it. You know, if everybody's heard him speak on the sound bites in the meeting rooms, you know, on TV, he does have a means and a method to where this is going to work, and he's been around such great coaches, really. And I think Pete Carroll, I believe, is one of his main influences.
Yep.
And I see that that's coming through for these young guys. And, you know, nobody wants to be shown up. Like, my whole theory of playing football was every single down, every play. And I remember one of the tackles from the Dolphins was being interviewed about me. And he said it didn't matter what the score was, 40-10 or whatever, my motor was going. And that's what I see with these guys, you know, and biting at the bit to win.
Hey, Beck, I know you had something.
I do. You know, pride of St. James. My dad's an alum from St. James. Temple. I got to bring those schools out because they're close to my heart, too, because, you know, playing against your son at Temple, you went to Temple, Chester area, that's my roots in that area. So
that is.
Your name's always been in the household over the years. You know, we always talk about LeBron and Jordan, who would play well in each time. How do you look at the perspective when you play? You're an all-pro at 3 different positions. I mean, you did it at a high level. Is it harder to play in this day and age for you in your mind as you see it? Would it have been harder to come back and play in your day for these guys to come back in you? How do you look at the game right now at that position you played at?
Well, the way I played inside was, I don't mean to compare myself, and I'm not, it's a lot like how Aaron Donald played.
No doubt, yeah.
He's off the ball. He's avoiding things. I remember the one sack against the right guard he had in the Super Bowl. He ran the guy over because everybody would worry about getting set against me because getting on your feet and getting set's a big deal for an offensive lineman.
Right.
Okay? And I didn't give him that advantage a lot where I'd either be able to go around him or not. So being able to play now or back then, I think that's why it was easy for me to make the Pro Bowl in 3 different positions because my techniques and my way were the same wherever I played, which today you have, you know, edge rushers, defensive ends who have more worry about their length and getting upfield. They can't play inside, okay? And now you have the guys inside who are basically great run stoppers, and that's what they're looked at. Well, I led the team in tackles 2 years in a row, but people didn't even know that as a defensive tackle. You know, it's because getting off the ball, getting off the blocks. So what would I prefer? Like, I believe that, could I play now? I was.
Hell yeah, you could play now.
Yeah, when I.
He's ahead of his time. I mean, obviously. I mean, it's.
But I believe that, you know, the things nowadays and today, the way they run the game I think the top guys run probably out of the defensive plays, if there's 60 plays, they run 45 plays. Yeah. I ran 60 plays.
Right.
You know, I was in there every minute of every day. And a lot of guys the same.
Not a lot of this going on. You weren't tapping out.
No.
I never tapped out. These guys tap out all the time, man. And you got 100% of our votes, that's for sure.
Thank you, guys.
It's going to be amazing. Joe Klecco is going to get that stamp in January. And then we are going to be in Canton to celebrate his induction into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Nothing embodies the excitement of the start of a new NFL season better than the crack of the first Bud Light. That's why Bud Light, an official beer sponsor of the New York Jets, is cracking open the season with Kickoff beers. There's Joe Klecco with the Kickoff beer. Does it get any better than that? Future Pro Football Hall of Famer Joe Klecco Thank you so much, sir. You are watching Pregame Central, presented by the aforementioned Bud Light. We're having a great time here in the tailgate zone.
Thanks, honey.
Eric Allen, Anthony Beck, Quincy Enunwa. We got to rock and roll, guys. It's time for Sunday Spotlights. Anthony, where you going?
Yeah, I'm going with the running back position. Breece Hall, Michael Carter. This is a problem for the league, in my opinion. These are two 1A backs. I can't wait to see how Mike LaFleur uses both of these players, but they could be devastating. Patrick Queen today's going to have his hands full. I know he's a good linebacker, but he's going to have to worry about these guys coming in the pass game, the run game. Can't wait to see them play.
There's Michael Carter. He led the Jets in rushing last year. How about Breece Hall? First-round value in the second round for Joe Douglas, getting the Iowa State product, who had 196 forced missed tackles from 2019 through 21 for the Cyclones, who are celebrating a nice victory over Iowa today, correct, Anthony? All right, there's Michael Carter's stats from last year. Ultra productive, not only rushing the football, but he can catch it out of the backfield. Watch out for Breece Hall today, because he's a home run hitter. Big dude, makes people miss, but he gets up on the second level in no time. Sub 4.4 speed. Quincy Enunwa, you are our former receiver, so where are you going with your spotlight?
You already know I'm going with the receivers versus the DBs on the Ravens, man. You got Marlon Humphrey over there. You got Marcus Peters, but both those guys are coming off of injuries, right? So they're going to have a hard time today against our receiving corps. You got so many talented guys that can do so many different things, right? So I'm definitely looking forward to that challenge, seeing what they can do, seeing what we can perform on the field.
That's Elijah Moore's stats last year. 6 total touchdowns, 5 receiving touchdowns in just 11 games played. Very good numbers. What strikes me here heading into this game before we get to my spotlight, Anthony, is the Ravens last year defensively, very odd. First in the NFL against the rush, 32nd against the pass. Now, some of that had to do with the injuries that Q was just talking about.
Yeah, a lot of that obviously had to do with injury. So I think, with this team, I think that these guys are going to be out here. They got something to prove. So these receivers are going to have to be on point today versus this Ravens secondary.
Right, definitely.
Yeah, my Sunday spotlight, I'm going to go with Joe Flacco and C.J. Mosley facing their former team today. Of course, Flacco, drafted in the first round, 2008. He had a 10-5 postseason record with the Ravens, had that memorable 2012 run when he led Baltimore to a Super Bowl title. He leads the Ravens organization in practically every passing category. It's going to be an emotional day for him, as it will be for number 57, C.J. Mosley, here today for the New York Jets. Mosley's going to be counted on to count. The Jets have to stay in their gaps, maintain integrity against Lamar Jackson and company. Okay, we are rolling on. You are watching Pregame Central, presented by Bud Light. Jets football is back here at MetLife Stadium. We're going to get to our game day. Well, we already got to our game day storylines. I want to get, as we take a live look at MetLife Stadium right now. Anthony, on the surface, the gap running scheme against the Jets' attack front, is that a bad matchup on paper for the Jets?
Well, this defense, like we talked about earlier in the show, is, there's a lot of new faces. There's a lot of exciting players. There's a lot of guys that can, really make some splash plays. In particular, Jordan Whitehead. He's a guy to me, he's going to be in the box, he's going to have his presence. He could be the leading tackler on this football team because of the movement and the tight ends for the Ravens today as well. He's going to be a busy safety along with LaMarcus Joyner, who we've not seen on the field in a starting role yet since he's been injured last year. So, again, a lot of new presence. Sauce Gardner, I think everybody's excited about him as well. So it should be interesting to see how they affect this offense of the Ravens.
You're watching Pregame Central, presented by Bud Light. Jets football is back, and so is our favorite Pregame Central segment. All in or not today. The records are 0-0, so that means that everybody is in first place. That's the only week this season we'll be able to say that. Ethan Greenberg last year really struggled out of the gate. Should we start with him or Caroline? I hear the rain's coming down inside
Shots
the stadium.
fired early.
We're covered here. I hear the rain's coming down inside the stadium. So, Caroline, how about we start with you? Jets have a really talented defensive line. They're going to come at you with numbers. They will have 3 sacks or more of Lamar Jackson. What says you, all in or not today?
I'm going all in. I don't care if I'm swinging big. I'm going all in because you know what? Robert Saleh has talked so much about Carl Lawson, and he is a freak. He's so excited to get back on the field. He said he won't stop Lawson until they have to tell him to stop. So I'm all in. Let's give it.
All right, I love that. Okay, so let's go to the aforementioned Ethan Greenberg. Sauce Gardner was the only FBS player with 120-plus targets and 0 touchdowns allowed from 2019 through 2021. I'll tell you what, Ethan, in the preseason, he was targeted a grand number of, 0 times. So today, the Jets rookie cornerback, drafted number 4 overall out of Cincinnati, will be targeted at least 3 times.
Yeah, I'm going all in on this one, and it's not anything about Sauce Gardner. It's more that just the fact that he's a rookie getting his first start in the NFL. If you're looking at the Ravens, you know that Pro Bowl tight end Mark Andrews is the leading guy in terms of receptions, yards, and touchdowns from last year. It's going to put pressure on the outside for the Ravens receivers entering 2022. Sauce Gardner being the rookie, I think maybe Lamar Jackson will target him. So I'm going all in on this one.
All right, you two are done. Go inside the tunnel. We're hearing that the rain is coming down inside the bowl at MetLife Stadium. Great job. You guys played in the elements, so we really respect that here on set. Anthony Becht, we've been talking a lot here on Pregame Central presented by Bud Light about the Jets youth infusion. A Jets rookie will score a touchdown today in week 1.
Yeah, well, I'm all in on that. I mean, listen, I'm going to bet the averages of numbers here. We got Sauce could score, Ruckert, Brees, all kinds of guys. Heck, I could get all kinds of different players. We should throw in the new players, too. Do I get the new players and the rookies or just the rookies?
You just get the rookies.
I just
Come
get
on.
the rookies. All right.
You're thinking tight ends, aren't you? You're thinking Uzam or Tyler Conklin. We know your game.
If they're new, they're considered kind of, fresh to the list. Why don't we add them?
Come on.
But I'll lean on, I'm leaning on Garrett Wilson, maybe Ruckert, or maybe Brees Hall. For sure, Brees Hall is going to have an opportunity today. I like my chances all in.
How cool would it be if Sauce Gardner took one to the house? I'd love to see that.
I can't remember the last time Brees Hall hasn't scored a touchdown, let alone not get one today.
I think he enters today's game on a streak of 24 consecutive games of getting.
That's all he knows. That's all he does.
So watch out for Brees Hall inside the red area. Watch out for that guy as well, though, Michael Carter. Quincy Enunwa, you're up. Yes. Your first installment of All In or Not today.
Yes.
Joe Flacco will throw for at least 280 yards against the Ravens defense.
I heard he wants to change early. That's what the rumor going around.
Listen, let me say this, right? Going into this, I think I had every reason to believe it, right? Joe Flacco had a great game against Miami last year, 270-plus yards. He's coming in with some great receivers, great tight ends. He's got everything he needs. The opposite side, the cornerbacks are injured. But with the rain possibilities and right tackle going down, I might have to call an audible, man. I might need an audible. I say not today, man.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Joe Flacco made one start last season. That came against the Miami Dolphins. He threw for 291 yards.
Exactly.
The Ravens led the National Football League last year in rush defense, but they were last in pass defense, and they allowed 74 completions of 20-plus yards in 2021. That was the most in the National Football League. Watch out for a guy who we're watching on the screen right now. That's Corey Davis. Quincy trying to pull an audible up here on stage.
Hey, does the gloves come off right away in the rain, or do you play it out depending on how heavy it rains?
It really depends on how hard it rains, because if it's a light rain, it's not too bad.
Okay, my all in or not today, Lamar Jackson will account for 3 total touchdowns today. I'm going not today. I think it's an inspired performance from the Jets defense. Baltimore will get their yards on the ground. This is a team that's averaged over 180-plus yards on the ground over the last 3 years. But I do think the Jets will account for Jackson. They'll make his life difficult. He'll get in the end zone a couple times, either throwing or passing, but he's not getting 3 total touchdowns today. Fans, here's your vote. This was your chance to be part of Pregame Central, presented by Bud Light. Joe Flacco will throw for at least 2 touchdowns or more versus the Ravens. 74% of the vote goes to Cool Joe. Yes, indeed. Here's today's inactives from MetLife Stadium. Zach Wilson, Jeremy Ruckert, Denzel Mims, Bryce Huff, and offensive lineman Connor McDermott. We've had an unbelievable show for Anthony Beck, Quincy Enunwa, Joe Klecco, Ethan Greenberg, Caroline Hendershot, and you, the green and white faithful out here in the tailgate zone. We got to thank Bud Light for getting this thing started the right way. There's the shot of the Freedom Tower here in New York City, as on this day, we all remember everything that we lost, and we celebrate our first responders. Speaking of that, be in your seats early as we are asking our fans to loudly sing the national anthem on this special day, creating a new tradition here in New York. There is the launch crew. We are signing off. Enjoy the game, everybody.